Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the edge of the crater and stared at the twisted metal below. The sun beat down on the Gobi Desert, turning the sand into a furnace. 5 years had passed since the thing fell from the sky, and still nobody wanted to touch it. She could understand why. The wreckage looked evil. Dark metal bent at impossible angles, scattered across 3 square miles of scorched earth. This was a Catharan warship, one of the vessels that had burned Mars' colony to glass and killed 4 million people on Europa Station. The same type of ship that had reduced Sydney to a smoking crater in 90 seconds. Sarah remembered that day. She had been in Beijing finishing her doctorate in quantum mechanics. The emergency sirens had screamed across the city. People ran through the streets pointing at the sky. She had looked up and seen them, dozens of dark shapes hanging in the atmosphere like knives. Then the beams came down and the world changed forever. The war lasted 18 months. Humanity threw everything at the invaders. Nuclear weapons barely scratched their shields. Fighter jets were swatted from the sky like insects. Earth's entire military might seem useless against the Dominion forces, but humans were stubborn. They learned. They adapted. Engineers studied every piece of wreckage, every failed weapon, every burned component. Slowly, painfully, humanity began to understand the enemy's technology. They built better weapons. They found weaknesses in the alien shields. They made the Cathara bleed. The final battle happened over Earth itself. Thousands of human ships, most of them barely holding together, threw themselves at the Dominion fleet. The cost was terrible. 2 million soldiers died that day, but the Cathara retreated, leaving their dead and damaged ships behind. This ship in the Gobi had crashed during that battle. Its engines had failed and it came down like a meteor. The Cathara crew had evacuated before impact. They left it behind like garbage, a monument to human weakness. The message was clear. You primitives got lucky once, but look what our technology can do even in death. For 5 years, the wreck sat untouched. The Earth Defense Coalition sent teams to study it, but everyone said the same thing. Too damaged. Too alien. Too dangerous. Better to leave it as a memorial. Sarah disagreed. She had spent those 5 years studying Catharan technology, learning their quantum principles, understanding their power systems. She knew something everyone else had missed. The ship might look dead, but its heart still beat. She climbed down into the crater, her boots sliding on loose sand. Her team followed, 6 engineers and scientists who shared her obsession. They were the best minds Earth had, people who had dedicated their lives to understanding the enemy. "Are you sure about this, Doc?" asked James Park, her chief engineer. He was a big man from Seoul who had lost his entire family in the war. His hands shook slightly as they approached the wreckage. "I'm sure," Sarah said. "Trust me." They entered through a gash in the hull. Inside, everything was dark and wrong. Catharan ships were designed for their biology. Low ceilings, strange angles, air that still smelled like their sulfur-based atmosphere. Sarah led them deeper, following maps she had memorized. The quantum core was buried in the ship's center, protected by layers of armor that had somehow survived the crash. Sarah ran her scanner over the metal. Green lights flickered across her screen. "There," she said, pointing. "Do you see it? Residual quantum fluctuations. The core is dormant, not dead. It's waiting." "Waiting for what?" asked Maria Santos, her quantum physicist. She was young, barely 30, but brilliant, for someone smart enough to wake it up. They spent weeks just reaching the core. Every corridor was a puzzle. Every door required them to crack alien computer systems. Sarah's team worked 18-hour days, sleeping in tents outside the wreck. The coalition sent observers but kept their distance. As far as Earth's government was concerned, this was a waste of time. Sarah didn't care. Every day brought new discoveries. The Catharan power systems used quantum entanglement in ways human science had only theorized about. Their weapons drew energy from dimensions humans couldn't even detect. Their computers operated on principles that made Earth's best AI look like calculators. But the most important discovery came on day 43. Sarah was deep in the ship's databanks trying to extract information from corrupted memory cores. Most of it was destroyed, but fragments remained. Navigation data, battle logs, communication records. She found something that made her heart stop. Embedded in the quantum core's deepest memory layers was a complete map of Dominion space. Every military base, every supply route, every conquered world, 300 star systems laid out in perfect detail. The Cathara had no idea this data was here. It was redundant backup information, the kind of thing programmers add and forget about. But to humanity, it was pure gold. Sarah called an emergency meeting with the coalition leadership. She stood before generals and politicians in a secure bunker beneath Shanghai and told them the truth. This ship wasn't just salvage. It was an opportunity. We can rebuild it, she said, not just repair it, make it better. Combine their technology with ours. Create something the Dominion has never seen. The room erupted in argument. Half the people called her crazy. The other half called her dangerous. General Martinez, head of Earth Defense, stood up and pointed at her. Dr. Chen, that ship killed millions of our people. You want to fly around in their technology? You want to trust systems we barely understand? I want revenge, Sarah said quietly. I want the Cathara to see what humans can do when we're properly motivated. They left this ship here as an insult. Let's turn their insult into their nightmare. The room went silent. Everyone there had lost someone in the war. Everyone there understood what she meant. Admiral Zhao, the oldest person in the room, finally spoke. He had commanded Earth's defense fleet during the final battle. Half his face was covered in burn scars from when his flagship had been hit. How long would it take? He asked. 3 years, Sarah said. Maybe 4. We would need resources, personnel, and complete secrecy. The Dominion thinks we're broken. Let them keep thinking that while we work. And if it fails, then we're no worse off than we are now. But if it succeeds, Sarah smiled grimly, if it succeeds, we won't just defend ourselves. We'll take the fight to them. The vote was close, but it passed. Project Prometheus was born that day, named after the Titan who stole fire from the gods. Sarah and her team would rebuild the Kithran warship and turn humanity's greatest defeat into the weapon of their revenge. As she walked out of the bunker that night, Sarah looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Cathara were celebrating their victory over the primitive humans. They had no idea what was coming. The wreckage in the Gobi Desert would rise again, and when it did, the galaxy would learn that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their weapons. It was their absolute refusal to stay down. The work began the next day. 3 years after Project Prometheus began, Dr. Sarah Chen stood in an underground facility that didn't officially exist. The Mongolian government had built it for them, carving an enormous hangar deep into the mountains. Inside that hangar, the Kithran warship was coming back to life. It looked different now. Human engineers had stripped away the damaged sections and rebuilt them with Earth materials. The dark alien metal now mixed with human titanium and carbon fiber. The ship was a hybrid, a monster born from 2 worlds. Sarah thought it was beautiful. The transformation had not been easy. 16 people had died in the first year alone. Quantum reactors didn't forgive mistakes. One engineer had been disintegrated when he accidentally crossed 2 power conduits. Another team had been killed when an alien computer system activated unexpectedly and flooded their section with radiation. Each death hurt Sarah deeply, but nobody quit. Everyone working on Prometheus had volunteered. They all knew the risks. More importantly, they all remembered the war. "Doc, you need to see this," called James Park from across the hangar. He stood beside a massive panel covered in holographic displays. Sarah jogged over, her boots echoing on the metal floor. "What is it?" "The AI core. We finally cracked the last encryption layer." James looked tired. He had been working for 36 hours straight. The ship's artificial intelligence is still alive. Dormant but intact, Sarah felt her pulse quicken. The Catharan AI had been their biggest mystery. It controlled everything: weapons, engines, shields, navigation. If they could understand it, they could understand the entire ship. Can we communicate with it? Maybe, but Doc, there's more. James pulled up a new display. The AI has been recording data the whole time it's been here. 5 years of weather patterns, seismic activity, even radio transmissions. It's been listening to us. Is it a threat? I don't think so. It seems curious more than hostile. But we need to make a decision. Do we keep it or do we wipe it and start fresh? Sarah considered the question carefully. The AI was alien, potentially dangerous, but it also represented the pinnacle of Catharan technology. It knew things humans couldn't learn in 100 years. We keep it, she decided. But we build a bridge. Merge it with our own quantum computers. Create something new. The AI integration took another 6 months. The team worked with specialists from every field: computer science, linguistics, psychology, neuroscience. They needed to teach the AI to work with humans instead of Cathara. Dr. Maria Santos led the effort. She spent countless hours communicating with the AI through mathematical equations and logical puzzles. Slowly, carefully, a relationship formed. "It's not really alive," Maria explained to Sarah one night. "But it's not just a program either. It learns, it adapts. It has something like curiosity." The Kythera never really understood what they had created. Can we trust it? As much as we can trust any powerful tool. The key is making sure it understands us, our motivations, our history, why we're doing this. Sarah approved the integration. Human quantum computers were woven into the alien AI core, creating a hybrid intelligence that was unlike anything in the galaxy. They called it Prometheus after the project itself. Meanwhile, other teams worked on weapons systems. The original Kytheran energy cannons were devastating, but human engineers found ways to make them better. They increased the power output by rerouting energy from secondary systems. They improved the targeting computers using Earth's own military software. They added railguns, kinetic weapons the Kythera had never bothered to develop because energy weapons seemed superior. The hybrid approach created something unexpected. The ship could now switch between energy and kinetic weapons instantly, adapting to any defensive system. The Kythera had relied on overwhelming power. Humans added flexibility and cunning. The shield systems received similar treatment. Earth scientists had studied Kytheran shields for years, learning their weaknesses. Now they rebuilt those shields from scratch, eliminating the flaws while adding new capabilities. The new shields could absorb enemy fire and redirect it, turning attacks back on the attacker. The propulsion system caused the biggest breakthrough. Kytheran ships used quantum drives that folded space, allowing faster-than-light travel. Human physicists had barely understood the theory, but when they actually opened up the drive core and studied it, they found something amazing. The Kythera had been inefficient. Their drives wasted enormous amounts of energy because they used brute force instead of precision. Human engineers redesigned the drive using more elegant mathematics. The new version was 40% faster and used half the power. They had the technology, but they never really refined it, explained Dr. Chen to General Martinez during one of his inspection visits. They conquered species after species using the same basic designs. They never had to improve because nobody could challenge them. "Until now," Martinez said, looking up at the ship with something like reverence. 2 years into the project, they installed the neural link systems. This was Sarah's personal contribution. Kytheran ships used biological interfaces designed for their reptilian nervous systems. Humans couldn't use them without extensive surgery. So Sarah designed something new. Using technology Earth had developed for prosthetic limbs, she created neural links that connected human brains directly to the ship's systems. The pilot wouldn't just fly the ship, they would become the ship. Think about turning and the ship would turn. Imagine firing weapons and they would fire. The first test pilot was a volunteer named Rachel Kim, a fighter ace who had lost both legs in the war. She sat in the command chair, and technicians attached the neural crown to her head. Her eyes closed. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Rachel gasped. Her eyes opened, but they looked different, distant, seeing something far away. "I can feel it," she whispered. "The whole ship. Every system. Every power conduit. It's like having a body again. Like being whole." The neural link system worked perfectly. Pilots could control the ship with thought-speed reactions, faster than any manual control system. It gave humanity an edge the Kythera would never expect. By year 3, the ship was 90% complete. They had rebuilt every major system, improved every weapon, and integrated human and alien technology into something entirely new. The wreckage that had crashed in the Gobi Desert was gone. In its place stood humanity's greatest achievement. Sarah held a meeting with her core team. They gathered in the empty hangar looking up at their creation. "We need a name," she said, "something that tells the Kythera exactly what this ship means." "Vengeance," suggested James. "Phoenix," offered Maria, rising from the ashes. Rachel Kim spoke from her wheelchair. "Call it retribution, because that's what we're going to deliver." The room went quiet. Everyone thought about what that meant. The Kythera had tried to break humanity. Instead, they had given humans the tools for revenge. "Retribution it is," Sarah agreed. The final systems were installed over the next 3 months. The ship's hull was sealed and polished. Weapons were calibrated. The AI was given its final instructions. A crew was selected, 30 volunteers, all veterans, all people who had lost everything in the war. On a cold morning in December, 5 years after the project began, the Retribution powered up its engines for the first time. The entire facility shook as the quantum drives hummed to life. Power flowed through systems that blended two civilizations' knowledge. Sarah stood in the control room, watching through reinforced glass. General Martinez stood beside her. Neither spoke as the ship rose slowly off the ground, held up by anti-gravity generators that shouldn't exist according to Earth's physics. "What have we created?" Martinez asked quietly. "Hope," Sarah answered. "We've created hope. The Kythera thought they broke us. They thought leaving that wreck would teach us to fear them. Instead, we learned. We adapted. We built something they'll never see coming." The Retribution hovered in the center of the hangar, silent and deadly. It was ready for testing. And after testing, it would be ready for war. The revenge was about to begin. Captain Marcus Stone had lost everything in Sydney. His wife Emma had been a teacher. His daughter Lily had been 7 years old. They were having breakfast when the Kytheran beam weapons hit the city. Marcus had been deployed off-world, commanding a frigate near Mars. He watched the reports come in, helpless, knowing his family was gone before the emergency broadcasts even confirmed it. Now he stood on the bridge of the Retribution, his hands resting on the neural interface controls. The ship hummed around him, alive with power. This was humanity's answer to the Kythera, and Marcus would be the one to deliver it. "All stations report ready," said Commander Lisa Torres from the tactical station. She was a small woman from Mexico City with sharp eyes and faster reflexes. Half her face showed burn scars from the Battle of Luna Station. "Engineering shows green across the board," reported Chief Engineer Park through the communication system. He was down in the engine room monitoring the quantum drives. "Navigation systems online," said Lieutenant Chen. No relation to Dr. Sarah Chen, though they shared the same determination. "We have clearance for departure." Marcus took a deep breath. The neural crown sat on his head, already forming connections with his brain. He could feel the ship like a phantom limb, vast and powerful. "Take us out," he ordered. The Retribution rose from the underground facility and climbed toward the stars. Earth fell away beneath them, blue and beautiful and scarred by war. They passed through the atmosphere in seconds, the quantum shields keeping them safe from heat and friction. Space opened up around them, black and infinite. Marcus felt the ship's sensors extend outward, reading radiation and gravity and the quantum fluctuations of reality itself. It was overwhelming and glorious. "Helm, set course for Neptune," Marcus commanded. "We'll run shakedown exercises in the outer system away from prying eyes." "Aye, Captain." "Engaging quantum drive in 3, 2, 1. The universe twisted. For a moment that felt like forever and no time at all, the Retribution existed in multiple places simultaneously. Then reality snapped back and Neptune floated before them, a blue giant in the darkness. The trip had taken 6 hours. A human ship would have needed weeks. Marcus allowed himself a small smile. The improvements Dr. Chen's team had made were working perfectly. They spent 3 weeks testing every system. The weapons were fired at remote asteroids, turning rock into plasma. The shields were tested against increasingly powerful impacts. The engines were pushed to their limits and beyond. Every day revealed new capabilities, new advantages. Rachel Kim, now the ship's chief pilot, learned to merge with the vessel completely. She could make the Retribution dance through space like a fighter craft despite its massive size. Her neural link allowed reactions measured in milliseconds. "It's not like flying a ship," she explained to Marcus one night. "It's like being the ship. I think about dodging left and we're already moving. No delay between thought and action." "How does it feel?" Marcus asked. "Like having a body again," Rachel said quietly. She had lost her legs to Kytheran weapons. Now she controlled something far more powerful than legs. On day 22 of testing, they discovered the navigation data buried in the quantum core. Lieutenant Chen was running diagnostics on the computer systems when hidden files suddenly appeared on his screen. "Captain, you need to see this," he called out. Marcus came to the navigation station and stared at the display. It showed a 3-dimensional map of space with hundreds of star systems marked and labeled. Dominion territory stretched across the galaxy like a cancer. "Is this what I think it is?" Marcus asked. "It's everything," Chen said, his voice shaking with excitement. "Military bases, supply routes, communication relays, fleet positions, The Cathara embedded their entire strategic database in this ship's core, probably as backup data. They never deleted it before abandoning the ship. Marcus felt his heart race. This was more than they had hoped for. With this information, humanity could strike anywhere in Dominion space. They would know exactly where the enemy was weakest. Download everything, he ordered. Make multiple copies. Send an encrypted file back to Earth Command. Already on it, sir. That night, Marcus called a meeting of his senior staff. 30 people gathered in the briefing room, the entire crew of the Retribution. They were all volunteers. They had all lost someone in the war. We have an opportunity, Marcus told them. This ship is the most powerful weapon humanity has ever built. And now we have a complete map of Dominion space. We can take the fight to them. Earth Command ordered us to remain defensive, Torres pointed out. Our mission is to protect the solar system, not launch attacks. Earth Command is scared, said Rachel. They think the Dominion will come back if we provoke them. But we all know the truth. The Cathara retreated because they were surprised, not because they were defeated. They'll be back eventually, maybe in 10 years, maybe in 50. And next time they'll be ready for us. So what do you propose? Asked Lieutenant Chen. Marcus stood up and walked to the holographic display. He activated the navigation data, and the map of Dominion space appeared before them. We hit them first, he said. Hard, fast, before they know what's happening. We use this ship to strike at their supply lines, their outposts, their logistics. We don't give them time to prepare. We make them afraid of us. That's starting a war, Torres said. The war never ended, Marcus replied. They just paused to deal with other problems. We're still on their list of species to exterminate. I say we cross them off our list first. The crew debated for hours. Some wanted to follow orders. Others wanted revenge. Finally, they voted, 23-7 in favor of taking offensive action. Then it's decided, Marcus said. We go hunting. They planned their first strike carefully. The navigation data showed a Catharan supply convoy that traveled between 2 star systems every month. It was lightly defended, just 2 escort ships protecting cargo vessels carrying weapons and ammunition. The Retribution positioned itself along the convoy's route and waited. 3 days later, the convoy appeared, dropping out of faster-than-light travel exactly where the data said they would. 5 ships, reported Torres. 2 military escorts, 3 cargo haulers. They haven't detected us yet. Marcus felt the neural link connect fully. The ship became an extension of his will. He could sense every weapon, every shield generator, every thruster. Wait until they pass, he ordered. Then we hit them from behind. The convoy moved past their position, completely unaware. Marcus counted to 10, then gave the command, now. The Retribution appeared behind the convoy like a ghost. Before the Kithra could react, the hybrid energy weapons fired. The first escort ship exploded in a ball of plasma. The second tried to turn, but Rachel was faster. The Retribution spun and fired again. Another explosion lit up space. The cargo ships tried to run. The Retribution's improved engines caught them easily. Marcus didn't destroy them. Instead, he disabled their drives with precise shots. Hail them, he ordered. The Kithran captain appeared on screen. Reptilian face twisted in confusion and fear. This is Captain Marcus Stone of Earth, Marcus said. You tried to exterminate my species. You failed. This is your only warning. Leave human space and never return. Tell your masters that we have teeth now. He cut the transmission and ordered the cargo ships destroyed. 3 more explosions bloomed in the darkness. The Retribution vanished into quantum space before any response could arrive. Back on the ship, the crew celebrated their first victory. But Marcus felt no joy. He looked at the map of Dominion space, at all those star systems marked in red. This was just the beginning. Set course for the outer reaches, he ordered. We have more work to do. The Retribution jumped into the darkness, carrying humanity's revenge into the heart of enemy territory. The Dominion had thought Earth was defeated. They had left their broken ship as a monument to human weakness. They were about to learn what a terrible mistake that had been. The hunt had begun, and humans were the hunters now. The Kithara were about to discover that some prey fought back, and when they did, they fought to win. 6 months after the first strike, the Dominion was bleeding. Supply convoys disappeared without a trace. Military outposts went silent. Garrison commanders reported impossible attacks by an unknown vessel that appeared from nowhere and vanished just as quickly. The Catharan High Command initially dismissed the reports as technical failures or local pirates. Their arrogance would not allow them to believe that humans, Primitive, defeated humans could operate in Dominion space. But as losses mounted, denial became impossible. Someone had one of their ships, and that someone knew exactly where to strike. Captain Marcus Stone stood on the bridge of the Retribution, studying the tactical display. They had just destroyed another supply depot, this one on the edge of Kitharan territory. The depot had been supplying 3 garrison worlds. Now those worlds would go hungry. 16 successful raids, reported Commander Torres. 0 casualties. The crew is getting confident. Maybe too confident, Marcus nodded. Confidence could become carelessness, and carelessness got people killed. But he couldn't deny the numbers. The Retribution was performing beyond even Dr. Chen's projections. Every system worked perfectly. Every battle ended in victory. The Kithara are adapting, said Lieutenant Chen from his station. Intelligence intercepts show they're starting to group their convoys together. More escorts. Better sensors. They're hunting for us. Let them hunt, Marcus replied. We're not just hitting supply lines anymore. It's time for Phase 2. Phase 2 had been discussed during their first month of operations. The navigation data had revealed something incredible. Coordinates for worlds that the Dominion had conquered. Species that had been enslaved for generations, forced to serve Kitharan masters. We're going to start a revolution, Marcus announced to his crew. The Dominion rules through fear and technological superiority. But every empire has cracks. We're going to find those cracks and tear them wide open. Their first target was a world called Vryn, home to a species that looked like tall, thin mammals with 6 limbs. The Vryn had been conquered 50 years ago. Now they mined radioactive materials for Kitharan weapons, dying slowly from radiation exposure while their masters watched from orbit. The Retribution appeared in the Vryn system without warning. A single Kitharan garrison ship orbited the planet, monitoring the enslaved population below. It detected the human vessel and moved to intercept. The battle lasted 18 seconds. The Retribution's hybrid weapons tore through the garrison ship's shields and reduced it to debris. Then Marcus broadcast a message to the planet's surface in the Vryn language, another gift from the navigation database. People of Vryn, this is Captain Marcus Stone of Earth. Your masters are not as powerful as they want you to believe. Rise up, fight back. We will give you the tools. The Retribution descended into the atmosphere and landed near the largest mining complex. Marcus led a team off the ship, wearing combat armor and carrying weapons. The Vryn workers stared at them in confusion and fear. An elderly Vryn approached carefully. His fur was gray with age and patchy from radiation burns. What are you? The alien asked in broken Kitharan, the only common language. Humans, Marcus replied. We know what it's like to be attacked by the Dominion. They tried to exterminate us. We survived. Now we're helping others do the same. The Retribution's crew spent 3 days on Vryn. They provided weapons taken from destroyed Kitharan ships. They shared technical information about Dominion security systems. They taught combat tactics and guerrilla warfare strategies that humans had perfected over thousands of years of fighting each other. Most importantly, they gave the Vryn hope. The Dominion seemed invincible because it controlled information. But once people saw that the Kithara could bleed, could die, could lose, everything changed. When the Retribution left Vryn, rebellion was already spreading across the planet. The Dominion would have to send forces to crush it, pulling ships away from other areas. More cracks in the Empire. Over the next 4 months, the pattern repeated. The Retribution visited 7 conquered worlds. They destroyed orbital garrisons, armed local populations, and provided intelligence. Each world erupted in rebellion after they left. The species were different. The Salathi were aquatic. The Kachan were insectoid. The Prel were energy beings. But they all shared one thing. They hated the Dominion. They had simply lacked the tools and knowledge to fight back, until now. Dr. Sarah Chen, who had joined the Retribution's crew after the ship's successful shakedown, worked with each species to understand their capabilities. Some were natural fighters. Others were brilliant engineers or scientists. She helped them use their strengths against Kitharan weaknesses. The Dominion made a mistake, she explained to Marcus one night. They conquered all these species but never integrated them. They kept everyone separate, afraid, unable to communicate with each other. They never imagined their slaves might work together. And now we're giving them that chance, Marcus said. More than that, we're creating a coalition. If we can link these rebellions together, coordinate their efforts, the Dominion won't be able to stop it. They'll have to fight on 100 fronts at once. The idea was brilliant and terrifying. Marcus sent encrypted communications to all 7 worlds they had visited, establishing a network. The rebellions began to coordinate their attacks. When the Dominion sent forces to one world, another would strike. The Empire was being pulled apart from within, but the Kythera were not fools. They realized what was happening and adapted their strategy. If they couldn't catch the retribution, they would make it come to them. The trap was set on a world called Helios 7. Intelligence reports claimed the Dominion had a major weapons facility there, one that produced the energy cannons used on their warships. The report said it was lightly defended, an easy target. Marcus knew it was probably a trap. But the weapons facility was real, and destroying it would hurt the Dominion's military production significantly. He decided to take the risk. The Retribution jumped into the Helios 7 system and immediately found itself surrounded. 10 Kytheran warships had been waiting in stealth mode. They decloaked simultaneously and opened fire. Multiple contacts. Torres shouted, "Energy signatures off the scale." "They brought everything." The ship shook as Kytheran weapons hammered their shields. Warning lights flashed across every station, but Rachel Kim was already moving, her neural link allowing her to dodge with impossible speed. "Return fire," Marcus ordered. "Target their engines." "Don't let them surround us." The Retribution's weapons blazed. The hybrid human Kytheran systems proved their worth. Where the enemy ships used pure energy weapons, the Retribution mixed energy and kinetic attacks, overwhelming their defenses. Where the Kythera relied on brute force, humans used precision and tactics. The first enemy ship lost its engines and tumbled out of formation. The second exploded when a railgun round penetrated its quantum core. But there were still 8 more, and the Retribution shields were dropping fast. "Engineering, I need more power," Marcus called out, redirecting everything non-essential to shields and weapons. Park responded. "But Captain, we can't take much more of this." Marcus made a decision. Instead of trying to fight all 8 ships at once, he would even the odds. "Rachel, take us straight into the middle of their formation." "Full speed, sir?" Rachel questioned. "Do it." "Trust me." Rachel obeyed. The Retribution accelerated directly toward the enemy fleet, moving faster than any Kytheran ship could match. The enemy ships tried to adjust their positions but weren't quick enough. The Retribution plunged into the center of the formation, then spun and fired in all directions simultaneously. At point-blank range, the enemy shields were useless. 3 more Kytheran ships exploded in seconds. The remaining 5 ships tried to regroup, but they were disorganized and confused. The Retribution used the wreckage as cover, darting between debris fields and striking from unexpected angles. One by one, the enemy ships were destroyed or disabled. When the battle ended, the Retribution was battered and scarred, but intact. 10 Kytheran warships floated around them in pieces. It was the largest single engagement since the war, and humanity had won. "Damage report," Marcus ordered, his voice tired. "Shields at 15%, Torres reported. "Hull breaches on decks 4 and 6. Casualties are light, 3 wounded, none dead." "We were lucky, Captain." "Not luck," Marcus said. "Skill, and a better ship." They destroyed the weapons facility on Helios 7 before leaving. But more importantly, they had sent a message. The Dominion could set all the traps they wanted. Humans would spring them and humans would win. Word of the battle spread through both Dominion and Rebel networks. The Kythera had sent their best ships to destroy the human vessel, and all of them had been destroyed instead. The psychological impact was devastating. More worlds rebelled. More species joined the coalition. The Dominion's 1,000-year empire began to crack and crumble, and the Retribution, scarred but unbroken, continued its campaign. They were no longer just taking revenge. They were liberating an entire section of the galaxy. Marcus looked at the map of Dominion space. Red markers showed Rebel activity. Green markers showed Dominion strongholds. More and more red appeared each day. "How long before the Dominion can't ignore us anymore?" Torres asked. Marcus smiled grimly. "They can't ignore us now." The summons came from the Kytheran High Council itself, a message broadcast across all Dominion channels, repeated in every language the Empire had conquered. It was addressed to the human vessel that had been terrorizing their space for the past year. Captain Marcus Stone listened to the message on the bridge of the Retribution. The Kytheran speaker was a high-ranking military commander, his reptilian face twisted with barely controlled rage. "Human vessel, You have committed acts of war against the Dominion. You have destroyed our ships, disrupted our operations, and incited rebellion among inferior species. These crimes demand justice. Present yourself at Kithar Prime within 30 days to face trial, or we will consider all of humanity complicit in your terrorism. We will return to Earth and finish what we started." The message ended. Marcus looked at his crew. Every face showed the same mixture of anger and determination. "They're threatening Earth," Torres said quietly. "If we don't surrender, they'll attack our homeworld." "It's a bluff," argued Lieutenant Chen. "They're losing control of their empire. Rebellions are spreading everywhere. They don't have the resources for another Earth campaign." "Maybe," Marcus said. "Or maybe they're desperate enough to try. Either way, we can't let them threaten our people." Dr. Sarah Chen, who had been monitoring communications, spoke up. "Captain, I'm receiving messages from the rebel worlds. The Vryn, the Salathi, the Kachin, all of them are offering to send ships. They want to help." Marcus felt something stir in his chest. Hope, maybe, or pride. For months, the Retribution had fought alone. Now they had allies. "How many ships?" he asked. "The estimates are still coming in, but—" Sarah paused, checking her data. "At least 200 vessels from various species. Most are converted cargo ships or mining vessels with weapons attached. Nothing as powerful as the Retribution, but they're willing to fight." 200 ships, Marcus repeated. He thought about it carefully. The Dominion had thousands of ships spread across their empire, but they were dealing with rebellions everywhere. How many could they actually concentrate at Kithar Prime? "We're not going there to surrender," Marcus announced. "We're going there to end this. Send a message to all rebel forces. Tell them to meet us at the coordinates I'm about to provide. We're taking the war to their doorstep." The next 3 weeks were spent preparing. The Retribution underwent repairs, replacing damaged systems and upgrading weapons. Earth sent a support ship with supplies and fresh ammunition, though they officially denied any knowledge of the Retribution's activities. Meanwhile, ships from liberated worlds began gathering at the rendezvous point, a remote system halfway between rebel territory and Kithar Prime. Marcus watched them arrive through the viewscreen. They were a motley collection of vessels, barely held together with improvised repairs. But they were here. They were ready to fight. Representatives from each species came aboard the Retribution for a strategy meeting. Marcus stood before them in the briefing room, looking at faces that were alien but united by a common cause. "The Dominion has ruled through fear for 1,000 years, Marcus said. "They've conquered hundreds of species because nobody could stand against their technology. But we've proven something important over the past year. Technology alone doesn't win wars. Determination wins wars. Courage wins wars. The willingness to fight for freedom wins wars." A Vryn commander named Krell stood up. His fur was scarred from radiation and battle. "The Dominion has 300 warships protecting Kithar Prime. We have 200 ships, most of them barely armed. How do we win?" "We don't fight their way," Marcus replied. "The Dominion expects us to engage in a traditional battle, ship-to-ship combat where their superior numbers give them the advantage. Instead, we use human tactics. We improvise, we adapt, we make them react to us instead of the other way around." Dr. Chen activated a holographic display of Kithar Prime and its defenses. The planet's shields are powered by 6 orbital generators. Destroy those generators and the planet becomes vulnerable, but they're heavily defended. We need to create chaos, force them to spread their forces thin. Rachel Kim spoke up from her position at the table. "What if we don't attack all at once? What if we come in waves from different directions, forcing them to commit their ships to defend different areas?" "Exactly," Marcus said. "We turn their strength into weakness. They have more ships, but they can only be in one place at a time. We hit them everywhere simultaneously." The plan came together over the next 2 days. The fleet was divided into 7 groups, each led by one of the rebel species' best commanders. They would attack from 7 different vectors, targeting support facilities, supply depots, and communication arrays. The Dominion would have to split their forces to respond. Meanwhile, the Retribution would go straight for the orbital shield generators. If they could bring down those shields even for a few minutes, the battle would turn in their favor. On the morning of the attack, Marcus stood on the bridge and watched the fleet prepare to jump. 200 ships from a dozen different species, all united against the Dominion. It was beautiful and terrifying. "All ships report ready," Torres announced. "Then let's finish this," Marcus said. "All vessels jump on my mark. 3, 2, 1. Mark!" Space twisted and folded. The fleet disappeared. from the rendezvous point and reappeared in 7 different locations around Kithar Prime. Alarms immediately blared across the Dominion's defense network. Marcus watched through the sensors as the battle began. Rebel ships poured fire onto Dominion targets. Explosions bloomed across orbital space. The Kitharan fleet scrambled to respond, trying to protect everything at once and succeeding at nothing. Approaching the first shield generator, Rachel reported. Her neural link allowed her to fly the Retribution through the chaos with impossible precision. Dominion ships are moving to intercept. Show them what we can do, Marcus ordered. The Retribution's hybrid weapons opened fire. A Kitharan destroyer exploded. Another lost its engines and tumbled out of control. The improved human Kitharan technology proved devastating. Every system worked perfectly. Every weapon found its target. They reached the first shield generator and destroyed it with a concentrated barrage. 1 down, 5 to go. But the Dominion was adapting. More ships converged on the Retribution's position. Marcus saw them coming on the tactical display. 50 vessels, all moving to protect the remaining generators. We can't fight 50 ships, Torres said, her voice tight. We don't have to, Marcus replied. He opened a channel to all rebel forces. This is Captain Stone. All ships converge on my position. It's time to end this. The 7 attack groups broke off their individual fights and turned toward the Retribution. 200 ships, battered and damaged but still fighting, came together into a single massive formation. They crashed into the Dominion fleet like a tidal wave. The battle became chaos. Ships from both sides filled orbital space, firing in all directions. The Retribution led the charge, its superior weapons and shields allowing it to punch through enemy formations. Behind them, rebel ships followed, covering each other and working as a unified force. The Dominion had better technology and individual ships, but they had never learned to fight as a coalition. The Kithara gave orders and other species obeyed. There was no trust, no cooperation, no willingness to sacrifice for each other. The rebels had all of those things. They had learned them fighting for their freedom. One by one, the shield generators fell. The Retribution destroyed 2 more. Vryn ships took out another. A group of Salathi vessels on a suicide run crashed into the 5th, destroying it in a massive explosion. When the 6th generator fell, Kithar Prime's shields collapsed. The planet lay exposed beneath them, its cities and military installations visible from orbit. Marcus opened a channel that broadcast to every ship in the system and every receiver on the planet below. Kitharan High Council. This is Captain Marcus Stone of Earth. Your fleet is broken. Your shields are down. We could destroy Kithar Prime right now. Turn your cities to ash like you did to Sydney and Mars Colony. But humans are not like you. We don't believe in genocide. We believe in justice, he paused, letting his words sink in. Here are our terms. The Dominion will immediately withdraw from all conquered worlds. You will recognize the sovereignty of every species you've enslaved. You will face a tribunal for war crimes, and you will never threaten Earth or any other world again. Refuse, and we will show you what happens when you push humanity too far. For a long moment, there was silence. Then the Kitharan High Council's response came through. You are primitives. Inferior. We will never. The transmission was cut off. A different voice came through, older and wiser. This is Councillor Thane. The High Council has been removed from power. We accept your terms. The battle ended. Dominion ships powered down their weapons and retreated to safe distances. Across orbital space, rebel vessels began to cheer, their various languages mixing into a symphony of victory. Marcus felt the weight lift from his shoulders. It was over. After a year of fighting, after 5 years of preparation, after all the death and sacrifice, it was finally over. 6 months later, Marcus stood with Dr. Sarah Chen in a shipyard above Earth. They watched through a viewport as the Retribution underwent a complete refit.